Hello, and welcome to another edition of BNEWS In Depth. I'm your host, Rich Hosford. The holiday season is a busy time in Burlington. This month, we are looking at different aspects of the season and the town, including increases in traffic, safety issues, and opportunities to ensure everyone has a happy and memorable holiday. First up is traffic. As we all know, the number of vehicles around the mall and our shopping centers increases greatly as people go out to buy gifts for their loved ones. To help navigate the issue and to touch on a number of other police and safety issues that arise this time of year, I spoke with Burlington Traffic Division Sergeant Gerry Mcdonough. And here is that interview. Well, anyone who lives in Burlington knows one thing, that around the holiday season, traffic picks up quite exponentially. And so our guest now is probably the best person to talk to. It is Sergeant Gerry Mcdonough from the Burlington Police Department. Sergeant, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And you are the head of the traffic division.
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. So the man of the month. So let's just talk about, what do you see as far as like the rise in traffic is this time of year?
Yes, there's a significant rise in volume in and around the malls and all the retail shopping areas in and around town. Throughout the year, Burlington's traffic volume increases all year long, but we definitely see a little bit more of an uptick around the holiday season with everybody trying to squeeze in their shopping either on the weekends or on their lunch breaks or dinner breaks while they're working, and kind of flooding the mall area and all those shopping areas that surround that.
And what is the police department, is there other ways that you can try to help move traffic along? Do you increase, your presence in that area?
To an extent, we like to see, especially with, we're fortunate that being along 128, that Mass Highway is responsible for the lights around the highway there. And they have engineers that kind of work behind the scenes that look at traffic patterns and try to get the lights to work together.
Oh, the timing.
Correct, yeah. In the past, that has been an issue, but recently, within the last year, those lights have been replaced, and they're all supposed to be syncing together. That helps us quite a bit. We also are in and around the mall area, assisting the mall with getting traffic off of the property, so that more people can then get into the lot and hopefully avoid some of the gridlock that happens in there and on the surrounding roads. And
any advice for residents just trying to get home?
The best advice that I have is just understanding the season, and that it is what it is, unfortunately. There really isn't too much that can be done with volume, because obviously, to some extent, the stores obviously enjoy having the customers there, purchasing, and it helps with the business side or the business aspect of what's going on around town.
Yeah.
But it does come at a cost. So the best advice is just, recognizing and understanding that, especially around this time of year, you're probably not going to just be able to swing in or swing out of the mall. That roads like the Mall Road and the Middlesex Turnpike are going to be delays. Expect those delays, plan accordingly. If you can, maybe hit some of those stores at off hours if it's possible, or have a plan in place when you're going to those stores, because at the end of the day, we're all just looking to save as much time as possible to squeeze the next thing in. And so if you have a plan in place, if you know what you're looking for, you might be able to make up time on the other end there.
And there's always a debate about trying to find the little side streets, the back roads. Do you think that actually saves people time? I mean, it's one thing to, it feels like you're moving, but you're also not necessarily moving in the most efficient direction.
Correct, yeah. To an extent, it does, at least, psychologically, like you said, if you're moving and not sitting staring at the same car for quite some time, it may feel better. But at the end of the day, especially in Burlington, all roads lead to the Burlington Mall. All roads lead to either Mall Road or the Middlesex Turnpike. And so regardless of what avenues you take to try to get to those points, you're probably still going to be stuck in the traffic, in those areas. Right. So apps like Waze are great because they do offer alternative routes, and you might see that you might save a couple of minutes. One thing that we ask of people, though, is a lot of times with Waze, it's bringing you into residential communities that you would normally travel.
Right.
And so our hope is that any of the drivers would drive in that neighborhood as if they'd want somebody to drive in their own neighborhood. A lot of times we find people that kind of take that for granted, and because it's not their neighborhood, they'll tend to go a little bit faster. So, we just ask, at the end of the day, we're all going somewhere, we're all on the same page, and we're all trying to get stuff done, but to some extent we all have to kind of try to, recognize that, be present and work together there.
Right, because, as has been discussed in in the town is a lot of the residential neighborhoods, the roads are a little bit more narrow, oftentimes no sidewalks,
Correct.
kids playing, people going to get their mail.
Correct.
Slow down.
And another big issue that we have too that I'd like to touch upon is, especially when you get in and around the mall on some of those roads, is trying to at all costs prevent any type of gridlock. So if you're in a line of traffic, which is most common this time of year, and the light is green ahead of you, if the intersection that you're approaching is still packed or backed up, still by law you can't proceed through that intersection unless it's clear. A lot of times we're finding people getting stuck in those intersections, which then creates that gridlock. So just a little bit of awareness and understanding of that can also alleviate a lot of the congestion and issues that we have around town, especially around the holidays.
Yes. And when you're coming down Middlesex Turnpike, be aware that once you pass the mall, heading towards like the Market Basket Plaza, there's both left lanes turn into a get on the highway, because a lot of people, they're in that second lane and then they try to make that, turn right to keep going straight. And
correct. It comes again
it's
to
a little confusing in that area.
Right. It comes to, again, just an overall better awareness of your surroundings, looking for the lane markings.
Right.
Mass Highway in the town have done a great job in making sure those markings are out there for people to see, so that you can put yourself in the best position to get through without creating an issue.
All right. Now, we'll stay on the topic of the mall for a little bit. One of the things that you've done the last few years, crack down on handicap parking. We're just not sure if we're going to have that, one of those targeted things this year or not. But just talk about the importance of people not breaking those rules, for the people who actually need those spaces.
Correct. So, if you look at any store, commercial property, retail establishment, a majority of the parking spaces there are, for lack of a better term, just regular parking spaces. There is an allotment that are designated for individuals with disabilities. Those are people that have gone to the doctor, that have clearly articulated and shown that they need a little extra help or a little assistance in being able to get from point A to point B. And so it's important that we have those spots there for those individuals that need it medically, so that they can go about their business just as you or I or anybody else that needs to get into the stores. They need that opportunity to be able to get a little bit closer to the doors, and that's why that's there. And taking those spaces away from them is pretty significant. We have, in the past years, and hopefully this year, have cracked down on it quite a bit, and issued citations to not only people just parking in the spots, but also misusing other people's handicap placards. An individual using the placard of another person to try to gain the benefit of parking just a little bit closer.
Right. And beyond, making you, pretty much a social pariah if you do that, you misusing a placard or something, this also can be costly for somebody.
Correct, yes. So right now a first offense is for a misuse of another person's placard is a $505 citation, along with a 30-day loss of license. A subsequent offense that was just signed into law is a $1,000 violation, along with, again, the suspension of the license. And then you are also potentially stand the chance of getting just a town-issued ticket, which is currently at $200.
Right. So it's definitely well worth spending the little extra time to find an open spot. And,
absolutely.
Maybe walking a little bit longer.
Correct.
A little bit more. It won't kill you. All right. Some of just things just in general for, winter. Is there any recommendations you have for people as far as, making sure their vehicles are, ready for the season?
Yeah, first and foremost, over the last few years, we've seen an increase of people failing to adequately clean off their windshields, which is a violation, which you can be stopped for. Not only the windshields, but the entire car, the roof of the car. A lot of times we'll see people just cleaned off the windshield, but they left snow on their roof or on their trunk or on the rear of the vehicle, and all of that potentially becomes an issue, especially if you're driving up on the highway when it flies off your car and hits somebody else's car. So number one is making sure that you get out and clean off your car appropriately for the safety of yourself as well as everybody else on the road. And then just making sure, we were fortunate in this area where it's not a very rural community, so you don't need a really in-depth survival kit, but
Sure.
some of the basics like a shovel or sand, or some have even suggested cat litter, things to be able to get yourself out if you are stuck. Maybe a warm blanket or a spare winter coat if you lose power and stuck on the side of the road for a while to be able to stay warm. Things like that.
Mm-hmm. And now, if we have, icy or snowy or slushy conditions, just tips for people, driving. Seems like, usually by February or March, people are pretty good, but that first snowfall, it seems like everyone's learning again for the first time how to handle it. So just general advice on, driving in less than perfect conditions.
Absolutely, and again, it comes back to being prepared and just being aware, just keeping an eye on the weather. We all have, apps on our phones where alerts pop up, at any point when there's going to be any type of snow or freeze advisory. And if you think that that's going to be the case for, say, your morning commute, just maybe getting up a little bit earlier and leaving a little bit earlier because you have to allot for that time. The speed limit is the maximum speed you're supposed to be going under perfect conditions, a sunny day in July or August. So that's not really the speed that you want to be going in inclement weather or in any type of a snowstorm or significant rainstorm that could freeze and turn into ice. So just giving yourself that little bit of extra time to get to where you're going.
And also, there's been a push, I know, the last year or two about, trying to keep drivers, in mind, of how to drive around the plows that are out there. Any, tips on that?
Again, saying that you got to give the plows the distance that they need to be able to do what they're doing safely, especially on some of the state roads like Cambridge Street. You'll see them sometimes traveling 3 or 4 abreast, and that's so that they can clear the road ultimately for you, the driver, to make the road safer. So if it's a single plow that's off to the side of the road and it's safe to pass and you're still under the speed limit, that's okay. Again, personally, if that vehicle is clearing any potential debris or safety hazards out of the way, I don't see why you'd want to pass it. But
right.
Allow the plow drivers to do their job. Don't, especially if you see 3 or 4 abreast, don't try to break them up. They have it set up that way for a specific reason. They're doing their job for the benefit of all of us, and just staying back, giving them the space that they need to do their job is probably the best advice.
Great. Now, on the topic of plows, the winter parking ban is in effect as of today, Friday.
Correct.
Just talk about the need for that, why it's important.
So the winter parking ban started today, December 1st. It runs from 2 in the morning until 8 in the morning. And the biggest reason that we have that is obviously that's time when a majority of the population is asleep. And rather than knocking on individual doors and random snowstorms to ask them to move their car, we just ask the streets be clear of any cars in the event that something does all of a sudden spark up, that the plows, the DPW can get out there and they can clear the streets with minimal impact to them or also the residents.
Now, as has been raised by, I guess, by some residents, it's in effect from, for the December through, April, but if there's no snow in the forecast, why is it still important that people adhere to it?
Again, it's remaining consistent. It's getting the message out so that everybody has it. And so that if we have to take some action, if we can't raise somebody, we have to tow a vehicle, someone can't say, well, I didn't know it was going to snow. I didn't know tonight was a night that we couldn't park on the street.
Right.
So just maintaining that consistently and ensuring that the message is out there to all the residents so that the roads can be kept clear.
Very good. Now let's get off traffic and parking for a second. I know there's been some advice given by the department recently as far as packages go. A lot of people are shopping online. A lot of people having things delivered to their house, and it's sort of especially with a residential neighborhood without maybe people watching during the day. It's a prime possibility for theft. Some advice for people to make sure that their packages are not stolen.
Right, absolutely, and it does tie into traffic in a certain amount, in a certain extent, because people that don't want to get stuck in traffic are just going on Amazon or going online and saving the time. But no, some of the big things again, and we put something out recently, but it's just hopefully setting up alerts through some of the delivery services, UPS and FedEx. You can establish an account for them with them for free that alerts your phone when a package was delivered, so at least you're aware. Setting it up so that the package doesn't get dropped off unless it's actually signed for. Maybe altering your delivery location to a place where you know somebody's going to be. There has been, again, a significant uptick in those in and around the area recently since the holidays, have gotten started. And just taking advantage of some of those tips so that you can get what you ordered without having to go back through the company and hopefully getting everything that you need in time for Christmas.
Right. Very good. Good advice. So make sure, and and work with your neighbors. I'd say.
Absolutely. Yep.
If you know someone's going to be home, or have a system where you'll secure each other's packages if if your neighbor's package is dropped off when they're not.
Right. Exactly. And again, the awareness that it is an issue. If you're in your neighborhood during the day and you see a suspicious vehicle, don't hesitate to give us a call. If you can get any type of description, and don't confront anybody. We're not suggesting that, but from the safety of your own home, if you can get the best description of the vehicle, the people in the vehicle, maybe a plate number, anything at all would be helpful. Give us a call, and we'd absolutely follow up if there is a potential issue.
All right, very good. Well, I think it's some good advice for people to keep in mind as we celebrate the holidays. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you, you too.
All right, thank you. Along with traffic, the holiday season and the winter months can pose some safety issues at home. These include fires caused by decorations and candles and the danger of carbon monoxide poisoning from heating systems. To tackle these potential problems, I spoke with Burlington Fire Department's Fire Prevention Lieutenant Robert Paul. Let's take a look. Hello. Now I'm joined with somebody who wants to make sure that you not only have a happy holiday, but a safe holiday. I'm with Burlington Fire Department Lieutenant Robert Paul from the Fire Prevention. Robert, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So I just wanted to do, sort of a broad look at some, safety tips for the holiday season.
Sure.
And, I guess we'll start off. One of the things that people think about with the holidays is holiday lights. Come in a wide variety, some newer, some old. What are some of the guidelines that people should sort of, keep in mind when they're putting up their holiday lights and, keeping them going through the season?
Sure. We always refer to the manufacturer's recommendations on just about everything we deal with, but and they're pretty explicit on what to do and what not to do with lights and strings. We're getting into the newer type, the LED lights, which are a lot safer, a lot cooler. They're not so hot. Running strings together, some people tend to run too many together in one line. You should keep it at least 3 lines, 3 strings in one line. Always don't want to overload electrical outlets as well. Some people tend to use too many lights in one outlet, and so things tend to heat up when you do that. As far as lighting,
so you're saying I shouldn't do my whole house with just one outlet?
Right, exactly. Yes, and stringing too many together. But all in all, fire safety for Christmas time and lighting, it seems to be working, and it's common sense that people are using, and I give them a lot of credit.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
And you said, like they are getting a little bit better. The technology is, advanced a little bit, so they're not burning quite so hot.
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
And I think people have a general sense of this, but also I think people who maybe don't use candles throughout the year will break them out for the holidays, get that ambiance. I know we have, my fiance and I use them. Our biggest concern is usually our cat knocking it over.
Sure.
But, what are some of the things people should keep in mind as far as, candles, especially if they don't use them year round?
Right, and we always say don't leave them unattended. If you have them, that's great, they're beautiful. But if you leave the room for an extended period of time, or you don't want to leave the house, obviously with candles burning, but always keep them attended. And there's a rule of thumb to keep any combustibles at least a foot away from the candle all around, and have them on a good sturdy plate or whatever it is you're going to have them on,
right.
Candle holder. But the big rule for us is to keep it attended, just like a fire in your fireplace. You don't want to leave it unattended.
And I'd imagine you wouldn't want to have a candle next to some attractive Christmas thing that a child might go for, on the same table.
Sure,
pulled
you don't
down on
want
their
them
head.
reaching across. Yes,
Right.
yeah. It's just an awareness of everything around that candle, and just keeping the house safe from everybody. But we would like to see less candles being used because they do cause fires.
Yes. We'll have to keep that in mind because we use them a lot. We don't have kids, so it helps. And now I know, the holidays, they come and they go, and people like to sort of hang on to it as long as possible. Maybe they keep that tree up longer than they should. When is it definitely time to get rid of that? Make sure it's not, just a fire hazard in your house.
The tree should go as soon as the holiday is finished. That's the message that the state fire marshal has put out there, that as soon as the holiday is done, we should be getting those trees out for the general collection that the town schedules for tree pickup. The longer we hold on to them, the faster they dry out and become more of a hazard. Of course, you'd have to have an ignition source to get it to go, but it's a hazard. And when they burn rapidly.
Yeah, I've seen them thrown on a bonfire. They go up.
Oh yes, and puts off a lot of heat quickly. On the state Mass DFS, Department of Fire Services website, they have a video of a tree that's been dried out and a tree that's still moist from water in the tray, and show the difference in burning. And it's pretty phenomenal what the dry tree looks like when it's burning.
Yeah, and that can just be a matter of, a few days or a week or so between being somewhat vibrant still.
Sure.
and very dry.
Right.
Any cooking things that's kind of come up this time of year?
There's a lot of cooking going on.
Yes.
For the holidays, and they cause a lot of fires in the year. As far as fires through the year, Christmas and Thanksgiving, we have the most cooking fires. And so, again, it's an awareness of your surroundings and what we're cooking with. And of course, grease fires happen. Things happen. And it's just another safety issue that we have to pay attention to and not walk away from your cooking.
Yeah. And I imagine also, with the holidays, people might be trying cooking techniques that they don't normally do throughout the year, something special.
Right.
But, especially if you're trying to, like you said, use, deep fry something or
Sure.
using greases that you're not used to be extra careful about,
Right.
The process.
And I'm not a cook, and I'm not going to try a whole new cooking technique on the holiday, but I'm sure there are people out there that feel bold enough to even try, and things do go wrong. But it's something we need to be aware of, and again, don't walk away from your cooking. If you have open flames on the stove, you have to be that more vigilant, especially reaching across the stove for items, and again with kids in the house, keeping your handles of the pots in towards the middle of the stove so that they can't reach them.
Right.
That sort of awareness. Yeah.
So just kind of being vigilant. Don't let the hectics of the holiday sort of take your attention away from
Which they do.
the important safety things.
Right.
Now, aside from the holiday season, we are also just, in general getting into the colder weather, and that brings up some actually, very serious potential risks, especially with heating systems. Talk about a little bit about what people need to be aware of as far as, getting their house warmed, getting their heating up, as and carbon monoxide. Yes.
Right. Yeah, we've since 2006, the state has required carbon monoxide detectors in every house, and for good reason. We do have incidents where heating systems will leak their exhaust in the house somehow, and those levels rise. So nobody can smell it, nobody notices
Right.
it just happens. And the fact that we have that law in place is very, very good, and it's saved a lot of lives. And we have numerous calls every year to go to a CO call and find that the levels are elevated and they're dangerous. And just about every time we can figure out what it was that caused that. But CO is our big issue right now. Not so much fires, although heating units are cause of a lot of fires, but we have a lot of CO calls, and these detectors work, and they're required on every level of the house.
Yeah, and if people aren't aware, I mean, obviously a fire is dangerous, but more than likely you'll smell the smoke, see the flame. But with
Right.
carbon monoxide, my understanding is you don't really have any warning, and in fact it actually puts you to sleep, doesn't it?
If you were exposed long enough, yes. And the parts per million are pretty low when they start making effects on people.
Right.
Flu-like symptoms are the early stages that you're being poisoned, and then as it gets worse in your bloodstream, the elevations go up. It could lead to dizziness, vomiting. If you become unconscious, those are late signs that something's bad.
Right.
Something's very wrong.
Yeah.
So
So you need the detector, because otherwise you might just think you have
You
the
wouldn't
flu
know.
and you go to bed and
you wouldn't know.
that you wouldn't have any idea what's going on.
Just this week I had a call, the detector was going off, but they'd been cooking all day with their gas stove in the house, and it was enough to raise the levels high enough for the detector to go off, and we were able to rule out all the other appliances, but even cooking will do it
Really?
from the gas stove. So CO comes from anything that any fossil fuels, any hydrocarbons that are burning will give off CO if it's not a complete combustion.
Right.
Even a candle gives off CO.
And that's also along the lines of heating systems, like snow removal from vents. What's the importance
Sure.
there?
You see a lot of direct vent heating systems being installed. It's just a pipe that goes out of the side of the house, and sometimes it's low enough where the snow buildup could block that, and if you don't keep those clear, the exhaust could come back into the house and cause the CO issue as well. So keeping those vents clear is very important.
And a couple of years ago, we all remember record snow levels. Just talk about the importance of just not letting snow build up on your, roof or other parts of your house.
Sure.
Did you see any? I know we saw news across the state, of people having to, abandon ship because all of a sudden the roof card started to come in.
Right. Yeah, that was a phenomenal year. There are a number of issues, including ice dams and the weight of the ice and the snow. It's quite a hazard, and I wouldn't recommend anybody just climbing up on their roof and clearing snow. It's something we need to stay on top of right from the start of the season. And if you have friends who are well versed in climbing and cleaning and clearing, that's fine. But if you can't do it, hire a professional to clear those roofs and the drip edges off. It's just it's hard when we have a winter like that, a snow winter like that, and everybody's trying their best, and some people can't afford to hire somebody to do it, but if you can tackle it in the beginning with a snow rake, that's great, and just a little at a time, keep up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, keeping your walks clear so we can get into you if you have a medical emergency. For us to attack a possible house fire, we need to be able to get to the house. It would be
Right.
easier if there were pathways, especially for the oil man to get to the oil fill. And so
Yeah, and they should probably be wide enough for a stretcher in case there's a
Sure.
medical issue, right?
Right, yeah. Because we often have to carry people from the house or down the stairs. So that's always a challenge for us when we show up to a house and the stairs are covered in snow and ice. And it's nice to see that that's clear before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
And also the hydrants. If you have a hydrant near your house, it's very helpful for us if you have that clear. Just have it as part of your chore of clearing your driveway. If you could just clear around the hydrant and
Yeah.
give us some water to use.
I mean, because I know you guys know where the hydrants are, but I mean, I imagine it makes a huge difference if you show up in an emergency and
You have
it's
to-
either buried in snow or it's right there,
Right,
or clear and ready to go.
right. We appreciate that when it's clear.
And I also, people should, I think, remember to make sure they're, depending on the snow or whatever, where their house numbers are. Make sure those are visible.
I do a lot of inspections in town as well as all the captains when they do the smoke detector inspections. That's the number one. The first thing we look for is the number on the house. It's a state law. There has to be a number on the house, and it's pretty. It's hard for us to find houses when there are no numbers.
Sure.
And there's so many houses without them. It's not just to find you, but also to be able to find your neighbor. If every house had a number,
Right.
it'd be easier to find them as well. So that's something I'm always pushing, is to make sure there's a number on the house when I go out to any of these houses and do the inspections. Yeah.
And last thing, we, in the same spirit of clearing the fire hydrant, just so for you and your neighbors are better protected. Just if you have neighbors, especially if they're elderly, winter, when it gets really cold, maybe go in and check on them,
Sure.
clear their roofs if necessary. Just talk about the need for, looking out for each other.
I agree. That's something we should all be doing with our neighbors, with our elderly. We have the Council on Aging that's very active in town to help all of our elderly. But it's important for the elderly to get in touch with them as well, to ask for help. Some people are just too proud to make that call, but all in all, I think the town is in good shape in getting the word out to all the elderly in town. If you're a neighbor to an elderly person, like you say, it would be nice to just ring the doorbell or knock on the door and just talk to them, see how they're doing, and make sure there's heat in the house and
Right.
and they're not heating with the stove or something simple as that. Or like you say, if you could just rake off their roof once
Yeah.
in a while to help them out,
Clear that walkway. If you got teenagers, send them over to do it.
or to go with you so they could learn from you. But it's very important to look out for them, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All the visits that we've had in the past, installing smoke detectors and CO detectors, we get to meet with these people and see how they're doing and hear their story and make sure all is well, and get the word out that the Council on Aging is there for them to contact if they ever need anything. So
Yeah. I mean, they've got fuel assistance programs. I know Veterans Affairs, I think, also has fuel assistance, connections that they can help people with. So, I mean, as a community, there's just resources out there, and
there are.
as a community, people should just sort of, make sure that everybody and all their neighbors are taken care of and looked out for.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I hope you and yours have a safe and happy holidays. And
Thank you. You as well.
I like just coming in and sharing all these safety tips to make sure that everybody has a good and safe winter season. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Finally, the holiday season often brings out the best in people. It is a time to come together as a community and ensure everyone is well fed and children have gifts to help them create wonderful memories of the holiday season. Much of that work in town is done by one organization, People Helping People, who work throughout the year to ensure families in need are fed and have the resources they need to be healthy. Their work ramps up during this season, and there are many ways for residents to play the part of Santa and to provide for their neighbors. I spoke to People Helping People's Janet Fitzgerald about all the group's ongoing activities and how everyone can help. Here is that interview. Hello and welcome back. I am now with someone who works for an organization that is busy throughout the year helping the people of Burlington, and they gear up for a special push during the holiday season. It is Janet Fitzgerald, of People Helping People. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you for having me, Rich. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem, and happy holidays.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. And just sort of give people who don't know, I'm sure most people do, but a little bit of the history of People Helping People.
Sure. People Helping People is the largest nonprofit in Burlington. It started in the 1970s when a Burlington policeman, one of the Christensen brothers, found a family sleeping in their car, and they realized that there were people in need in the town of Burlington. That's kind of how the food pantry started, as well as one of the Skeleton brothers, which is another long-time name in Burlington, played Santa to children in Burlington, and that's kind of how the wish tree started. A little small version of the story, but that's how it started. And then Ron McKenzie and a few other people in town realized there was a need throughout for many different things, so they formed the Covenant for Basic Needs, or the Clergy Association, where there were members through all the different churches in the temple that formed the Clergy Association. So those are kind of the three things that started it. The food pantry, which is located on St. Mark's Road, has been there for many years. It was very small. Now it's double the size, but it's still very small. And then the Wish Tree is one of our holiday programs we have, as well as the Thanksgiving program and so forth.
So, very beginning, or it came, it's grown over the years.
Yes,
and,
it's grown very big.
So where are we now as far as, how many people roughly does it serve throughout the year? And,
Sure.
And then, we'll get into the holidays after that.
Okay, so the food pantry processes about 130 to 150,000 pounds of food a year. About 300 people walk through the pantry a month. The food pantry has really grown. Jane and Christy are the co-coordinators for the food pantry, and they've taken it to a new level. They make sure that people are eating healthy. They have programs for dietary and things like that. It's very automated. It's just a great program, and they have flexible hours now for people who work, so that they can come at night and get their food and so forth. The food pantry, like I said, it doubled in size. The way I became involved with People Helping People is they did a drive to help raise funds to double the size of the pantry, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And they asked people from each church to come and help with the drive. And I represented St. Margaret's. And again, that's when they doubled the size of the pantry. But even now, it's too small. We're also
the
very...
need just continues to grow.
The need just continues to grow. And we're also very fortunate that we get some of our food from the Greater Boston Food Bank. And we have different companies and organizations in town that take turns going into the Greater Boston Food Bank to pick up the food and bring it to the food pantry. Rotary, which I'm also a member of, the Rotary Club of Burlington, does it once every 3 months. And there are other companies in town. So it's a very big, complicated program in a very small space.
And I know that it's not just food that they give out or that they collect and give out. There's also like hygienic products
Yes.
and different things that families
Yes.
really need.
Yes, toothpaste, toilet paper, shaving cream, shampoo, whatever they can get. They can buy a lot of the food from the Greater Boston Food Bank. We shop at Market Basket, but then for things like that, for example, say BCAT wanted to do a drive for the food pantry, they might say to BCAT, okay, we could use toothbrushes, we can use toothpaste, we can use diapers. So they'll tell you exactly what they need for the pantry at that time.
Oh, excellent. And is there a certain place people can drop off things at any time, or?
No, it's only open certain hours, so the best thing to do is to actually call the food pantry, find out what they need, and then they can tell you the best time to drop it off to make sure somebody's there, especially this time of the year when it's cold out.
Yeah, true. Don't want anything getting
Yes.
frozen that's not supposed to be.
Exactly.
So, we are doing a holiday show, and we just finished one holiday, Thanksgiving. Just what did the pantry, what did People Helping People do for that holiday, and how'd it go?
It's an incredible program they have. It's captained by the UCC Church, the United Church of Christ Congregational, on Lexington Street, and they have made it a community event where all the towns, the temple, some of the businesses in town help. And what they do is they collect the food, they send out for a month in advance in all the church bulletins the food they need, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, and so forth. We get the turkeys from the Greater Boston Food Bank at a reduced rate. Shaw's stores the turkeys for us. They're a wonderful partner with us. We get the turkeys a month before at different times during the month. They're frozen, and we're very fortunate that Shaw's lets us keep them there until the program starts. Then the Sunday before Thanksgiving, the UCC sets up their function hall like a store, and the families come in and they shop for their food. And then the Rotary Club helps carry the food out and the turkeys to the families' cars. It's an incredible, incredible program. And again, the UCC captains it. And I think probably 180 families sign up for this.
Wow.
All the sign up is done through the churches and through the food pantry, Heartbeat, the Veterans Organization. It's nothing that we put in the paper and say, here it is. It's all done through the different organizations in town.
So the people who know, the people who kind of
Exactly.
need the assistance.
Exactly. But you have to see it. It's incredible when you walk into their hall and you see it set up like a supermarket. And then the
wow.
parents, the families go, maybe if it is a one family person, they get a small amount. If it's a larger family, they can get more. The Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, they stand outside Shaw's, I don't know if it's the Saturday before or 2 weeks before, and they collect pies for people helping people. And then those pies are given out the day of the event. It's truly a community event.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seems like a lot of different organizations, the churches, the Scouts, the Rotary. What do you think that says about, the Burlington community that so many people are kind of willing to
Don't get
come
me
out?
started. I think that we live in, I'm a townie. I've lived here all my life, and there is no community like Burlington. People helping people doesn't want for anything. All we have to do is make a phone call, and there's always somebody there to help us help the families in Burlington. There's nothing like Burlington. Just like you have us on today so that we can publicize our needs. This is a very important month for us because there's so much going on.
So we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, you'd said that it's about, 300 people or families a month?
300 people pass through the pantry a month.
Does that increase during this time of year?
Yes, it always
So-
increases in the winter months. December, January, February, it increases. You see it kind of drop off in the summer months. And one thing I forgot to mention is Jane McIntosh and Christy Ventura and Linda Roscoe from People Helping People created a lunch program the last 2 years so that children who are in need in the school systems who might get reduced fare or free lunches during the summer, they set up a program this year where they could go and get lunches for the week. And that Mount Hope volunteered their space for it.
Oh, wow.
And it was a huge program. And we did it 2 years ago, and this was the second year where it was a full-fledged program, and it was a big success.
Yeah, so it's the children that normally rely on school lunches or the
Exactly.
reduced or free lunches
Yes.
at school.
Yeah.
That they don't have that option or during
Right,
the summer.
and this year they did.
Sort of fill that gap.
Yes, and it was great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
And so one of the programs that you have going now, and what you have in your hand, I'm thinking, is the Wish Tree at the Burlington Mall. Talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that. What it does, who it helps, and how.
So the Wish Tree, this year there are 80 families signed up for the Wish Tree, and the Wish Tree provides gifts for children in need in Burlington. It's been at the Burlington Mall for many years. It's a labor-intensive program. You have to have sign up for the families, then you have to set up the cards, the wishes, the tree, everything has to be set up. We need people to accept the gifts, sort the gifts. We need people to go to the mall every night and pick up the gifts. We need people to sit at the tree at the mall. So it's, again, a community event with a lot of labor involved. I have to give a shout out to Judy Walsh, who's on the board of People Helping People, who's the elf in charge of this whole program. We all report to her. We all report to someone higher up, and ours is Judy with the Wish Tree. This woman has so much energy and gives this program so much support. It's amazing. So right now, the Wish Tree is at the Burlington Mall, and it's staffed by the churches, by the businesses in town. And it's Monday through Friday, noon to 8, Saturday from 10 to 8, and Sunday from 12 to 6.
Right.
And last year, we had our biggest shock ever. Not all the wishes were taken. Never happened before. Usually halfway through the 2.5 weeks we're there, all the wishes are gone. And last year they didn't go. And I would go up to the mall, Judy would go up to the mall and be like, wow, there's still a lot of wishes there. And why? All of a sudden, aren't the wishes going? Amazon.
Yeah, so you think that, less people sort of
People aren't shopping
going
at the
into,
malls.
into actual places, getting
Yep,
online.
everybody's buying everything online, and they're not. The foot traffic isn't at the malls. My brother-in-law works for Apple out in the western part of the state, and he said he saw it. So our goal this year was to have the wishes online, that you could take a wish off our website. We didn't quite get there yet. Robin Magliari, who did our website over, we put every effort into doing it, and we just didn't get there this year. So the tree's there, and we're hoping that people take a moment, go to the mall, grab a wish, and buy a gift for a child.
Yeah.
If the wishes aren't taken, then we go and buy them.
Well, let's go over the mechanics of how it works for people, because everybody I think does have something that they can get at the mall. So they go
Yes.
up to the wish tree, they see the wishes. What do they?
They pick a card.
Yep.
They pick a card. They pick what they want to get for their child. It might be a gift certificate. It might be a little bike. It might be a scooter, doll. Every child that goes through the wish tree gets 3 wishes, and in addition to the 3 wishes, they get underpants, socks, and pajamas, I believe. So you take a wish from the mall, and then the person at the desk records the wish onto this card, and they take this card home with them, and then they shop for the wish, and then they return the wish, the gift, prior to December 13th. December 13th is the last day at the mall, and then when you return the wish, this card goes on the tree.
Oh, okay.
So last year they just didn't all go. I was up there Sunday night, and it looked pretty good, but this was the first weekend for Christmas shopping, so I don't know how it's going to be. We've really been talking it up, saying to everybody, please go to the mall and take a wish. We're hoping it happens.
Yeah, and even if people aren't going to do most of their shopping at the mall, you still go and get a nice dinner at one of the restaurants.
The many restaurants.
Yeah, the many restaurants. Hit up the wish tree, get the gift. I'm guessing most of these gifts you could buy right there while you're there.
A lot of them you can, but not all of them.
Well, sure.
A lot
kids
of,
want a diverse.
Well, a lot of the gifts come from Kohl's, Walmart, Target. Those are the type of stores that people typically get the gifts from. But you know what? You go now, you get the wish, bring it back.
Yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah. We used to have the wish tree open from 10 in the morning till 9 at night, and we've reduced the hours just because of the foot traffic in the mall.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully next year maybe we'll do it online.
Yeah, so...
and also, not to interrupt you,
Sure.
I told you I like to talk. We also have a lot of businesses in town that help us with the gifts for the trees. For example, Mercedes-Benz, who's very generous to people, helping people. They have a wish tree within their organization where they'll get 40 gifts for children. So we do use a lot of companies. Nordblum, I believe, does it. Oracle, a lot of smaller companies. So they help us grant the wishes as well. So it's not just the mall, it's these companies that step up and help us as well.
Oh, excellent. And you said that if not all the wishes are taken, that people helping people will buy the gifts.
Yes.
Is there a way for people watching, if they just can't get to the mall, don't want to go, that they can help financially through the program?
They could send a check to People Helping People, P.O. Box 343, Burlington, Mass. 01803. And any donations we get, we can use to help buy the gifts.
All right, so that's another way.
That's another
If
way.
they want to play Santa, but they just don't want to go to the
Go to
mall.
the mall. We can always do that as well.
Gotcha. Now, I know you have a couple other fundraising programs
Yes.
going on or upcoming.
Yes.
Talk about the Capitol Grill raffle.
Yes, that started, this is our 7th annual raffle, and it started when we wanted to get turkeys for the families of the food pantry in December, and somebody suggested we reach out to Capitol Grill. And Capitol Grill said, it's hard for us to give you that type of food, and logistically it was hard for us to distribute the food. And then David Eichen, who was then the manager of Capitol Grill, came up with the idea of donating a gift certificate. So he donates, it's now a different manager there, but they donate a dinner for 6 valued at $1,000. Certain conditions apply. And the tickets are $20 each, and we sell them starting at truck day till the end of December. And the money we use from the Capitol Grill raffle, every family that goes through the food pantry gets a gift certificate in addition to their regular food order for that month. So based on the number of people in the family is the size of the gift certificate that they get. So the families go into the food pantry in December and they shop for their food. In addition, they'll get this gift card, and that will help them buy the turkey, the ham, whatever it is they want to have to eat. So logistically, it's a lot easier for us to manage.
Sure.
And we're very fortunate that we raise a lot of money with it because it costs $4,000 or $5,000 to buy all the gift cards. This year, we're very excited because with our new website, the Capital Go raffle tickets can be purchased online. So you just go to our website, peoplehelpingpeopleinc.org, and you just go right to it, and you can see the link to purchase the gift card. The raffle ticket.
The raffle tickets.
And then we'll do the drawing the first week in January.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned that there is a new website that you guys have.
Yes, we're very excited.
More interactive, sort of
yes,
easier to navigate.
Easy to navigate. Again, I want to give her a big shout out, and I'm probably going to pronounce her last name wrong. Robin Magliaro she works, I believe, in the school system, and she's donated all her time to help do this new website. We have a new logo. Again, this is huge for us to be able to sell the raffle tickets online. You can also get them at Spencer Cleaners in a whole bunch of flowers in Old Town Liquors. But it's so much easier to just go to the website, click it, and put your credit card and get your raffle ticket. And we couldn't do that until this year. So it's thanks to Robin and all her man hours that we can do this. It also, you can go on this website, and there's a link for every part of our, every program we have. The food pantry, there's a link if you want to volunteer. The wish tree, if you wanted to volunteer for the wish tree or sign up to donate toys, there's a link for that. There's a link, I think I already said, for volunteering for all our fundraisers. So it's very interactive, and we're very excited.
Yeah.
We're very excited.
And there's plenty of ways for people to get involved and
Plenty of ways.
Try to help out.
Yep. Right now it's too late to adopt a family because for the wish tree, because it's all been, the process for the wish tree starts in September. So we're giving out the wishes to families and corporations, the end of October, the beginning of November. But if you do want to help and adopt a family, you just go up to the wish tree at the mall and take multiple cards.
Yeah. So you can't adopt a family, but you can definitely still buy gifts. That's
Many
what
gifts.
that's what we're doing.
Many gifts.
And I know it's a little bit ahead of time, but you have another big fundraiser early in the year. We're going to talk
Yes.
about the wine tasting.
Yes, that's I think it's our 7th annual wine tasting, and that's donated by Bob Murray of the Cafe Escadrille. He pays for the whole thing. It's a huge event. You walk into the Cafe Escadrille, and it's like a wedding. There's food, wine, champagne, whatever you want. The whole thing's donated to People Helping People. All we have to pay for is our raffle tickets and supplies to run the event, small dollars.
Wow.
So it's all pure profit. And we're 5013C, so we go online and we get some really good silent auction, live auction events. This year we just got 2 round-trip tickets on Southwest Airlines donated. Usually every year we get a Walt Disney vacation pass for 5. All the restaurants in town are very generous. They donate dinners for 4 or 6, valued at a certain amount of money. That's where we raise the bulk of our money for People Helping People. Every year we try to have a cause for the Cafe Escadrille wine tasting. Last year, all the money went to summer camps for children in need, which is done through Christine Shuhan's office. And children who, maybe have a family situation, need a little bit of help in the summer, Christine signs them up for camp, and that costs thousands of dollars.
Sure.
So every cent we earned last year in that wine tasting went for that. The year before, all the money we raised went for improvements to the food pantry. We put a new floor in, air conditioning. We couldn't do any of this without Bob Murray. We live in a very generous community, but this man's one of the best. To give us a wine tasting like this where we have practically all profits from it.
That's great.
It's great. It's the last Sunday in February. It's 2 to 5. It's $50 a person, and tickets go on sale in January. In years past, we've sold 200 tickets. This year, we're going to limit to 150, just because 150 creates a more comfortable atmosphere for people. There's more seats for people to sit at. And this year, we don't have a specific cause for our wine tasting, because we have a lot of hopes and dreams down the road of what we can do for the food pantry and People Helping People. We're outgrowing our current facility. we would love to have a bigger facility. That's our dream. There's no sink at the food pantry. There's no bathroom at the food pantry. The girls that work there, the ladies that volunteer, the men that volunteer have to go to the St. Mark's.
Yeah, go to the church.
Go to the church to use it. We would love to have a big facility where, you know, we can have classes for families. We could, you know, on health and nutrition. We could do monthly dinners for families in need. You know, one year somebody had a dream of, you know, you go in your closet and you have all these clothes that you don't wear, clothes that your kids don't wear that they outgrew. You know, we'd love to have a thrift shop for families. That's our dream, but it's a big dream.
Yeah.
So we meet monthly and we have a strategy meeting. We're trying to find out ways that we can do this. So if anybody in town has any spare space that they would like to donate to People Helping People, we would love to take it.
Well, yes. That it would be, of course, the issue is just trying to find the room, you know, find something available. But well, it sounds like you guys have a lot of people working really hard to make a difference. And
we
it's
do.
It's great to hear.
You know, and it's the thing people have to realize in Burlington and wherever you live, you don't know who's in need in the town. I had a woman call up one day, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, and she said, I'd like to volunteer, and I told her where to go. I don't know where she got my name from, but she called me. And then she said, I need help. So I told her, you know, to go to the Family Life Center and sign up. About a week later, Andy Giordano from the Veterans Organization had some extra turkeys. It was Thanksgiving time, and he said, Janet, I need help distributing these turkeys. So I thought of this woman. I had her phone number. I called her up, and I said, can we deliver you a turkey dinner? She said, I'd be embarrassed for you to see where I live. And I said, you know, don't worry about that. She was embarrassed because she lived in a very affluent neighborhood of Burlington.
Right. She
was divorced. She had 2 kids. She had a mortgage. Times were tough.
Yeah, you can't always tell just by looking at somebody what's going on in their life.
You really can't. So, you know, it could be the person you sit next to at church. It could be, you know, your kid's soccer match, you know, cheerleading event. You don't know what's going on in someone's life, and there's a lot of people in need in Burlington.
Absolutely. So just to recap, ways that people can help. You have the wish tree at the mall.
Yeah, till December 13th.
They can go online, make a donation, or buy a raffle ticket.
Yo, that would be huge. Buy a raffle ticket.
And then
$20 each.
They can also get the address, send in a check,
Yes.
and you know, just to support the organization in general and the wish tree program. And also, there's, like you said on the website, plenty of places where people can get involved, volunteer,
Yes.
you know, give their time rather
than
their money, and help make a difference that way.
You know, where we need help now is volunteering at the food pantry. The wish tree is scheduled. You know, we have all the days covered, but you know, helping out at the food pantry, you just go online. It gives you a link where to send your information. They do Saturday sorting for kids in high school who need community service hours. Again, save the date for the wine tasting and charity auction at the Cafe Escadrille, February 25th, 2 to 5. Tickets will go on sale right after Christmas, the first of the year. And just remember those in need. You know, it doesn't have to be through People Helping People. It could be through your own church where there's a wish tree there. You know, this is the time of year where people are in need.
Yes. I mean, it's throughout all the year, but, you know, now I think is when
it's harder.
You know, it's colder. Families are struggling. People want to give their children, you know, a memorable holiday. So,
you know,
it's
do
a great time
do I pay for my oil? Do I pay for Christmas gifts for my kids? You know, you look at the seniors and how much it is for Medicare, and you know, there's a huge senior population in Burlington, and that's on our wish list, that we could do more for the seniors in Burlington, because many of them are living on fixed incomes. Many of them live by themselves and are isolated. I see that through my job. You know, I don't know if I said 30 to 40% of our population is seniors, and that's just another way we'd love to help out if we had a bigger facility and so forth.
Right. All right, so you heard it. Plenty of ways to get involved, plenty of ways to help show the holiday spirit. Janet, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Appreciate you coming
You're always very good to us, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
We like to help where we can.
You do.
Right.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Great advice on how to stay safe and how to help ensure everyone has a wonderful holiday season. Thank you for watching this edition of BNEWS In Depth. I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, and from all of us here at BCAT, I wish you and yours a warm and happy holiday.